Thank you so much for joining us today. We know this is a very busy season in terms of year-end giving, holidays and everything. So we really appreciate joining us today. So my name is Yulia Zhendavaya. I'm head of strategy and growth at GiveEffect. GiveEffect is a nonprofit software platform built specifically for nonprofits and especially for those who are tired of using siloed tools, something for CRM, something for donors, something for volunteers, marketing events, you name it. And it just so overwhelmed with data, right? It's hard to understand who your supporters are. And GiveEffect offers all-in-one software, which help to streamline all the data operations, but also, of course, achieve greater results in fundraising and across the board and achieve your financial stability and mission goals. And we're so excited because today is our third session with the Giving blog, and I'm joined by Bailey Houston. Bailey, I'll pass it to you to introduce yourself.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. Really excited for our third session today in these speed learning sessions. My name is Bailey Houston, and I am the integrations manager at the Giving Block. A little bit about the Giving Block for those of you that might not have attended our first two sessions. We work with nonprofits to help them actively fundraise and accept non-cash assets. So that includes crypto, stocks, and donor advised funds. So really kind of supporting nonprofits in their journeys to gain new donors and maximize their impact when it comes to all things non-cash assets. At my role at the Giving Block, I work with all of our partners that we have integrations and different partnerships with, including GiveEffect. So really excited to chat a little bit more today about kind of ways to incorporate non-cash assets into your nonprofit's fundraising strategy. I know it's a kind of a busy month, but also it's a great time as we start to think ahead to 2025 and the new year. So super excited for this one.
Thank you, Bailey. Well, for those who are joining us for the third time, welcome. We're so lucky to have you here. But for those who are joining for the first time, also welcome. To give a little bit of recap to everyone, speed learning sessions are very quick 30-minute sessions. They are short, but they're full of practical and tactical information. We're going to spend 20 minutes talking with Bailey today about donor strategy and non-cash assets, and then we're going to have about 10 minutes for Q&A. So please feel free to utilize the Q&A section or the chat and leave any of your questions. I also wanted to do a little bit of a recap of our first two sessions. So when we met this month for the first time, we talked about what are non-cash asset donation and why they matter for nonprofits, right? And essentially, non-cash asset donation is everything that is not cash or cash equivalent. And when we talk in terms of nonprofit industry, right, frequently we learn that that's your stock, securities, crypto, and DAF, which is donor advised fund. During our second session, which was last week, we talked about how can you start accepting non-cash asset donation with confidence. So many topics were covered, but essentially we all learned that as a nonprofit, you of course can start doing it on your own, but just be aware of all the different regulations and technical things that you will need to accomplish. But there are also a lot of different platforms, including the Giving Block, who can help you to streamline that process and help you to accept non-cash asset donation with confidence. Bailey also shared with all of us a few main questions that kind of good to keep in mind when you are looking potentially at different technologies. One of them is what happened when you receive non-cash asset donation? Does your platform just liquidate it? How does it all work? Two is, are you going to receive any information about your donors, right? Their name and so on. And last, does this platform only offer one option, two option, or like Giving Block, they process everything like crypto apps, stocks, and so on. So today is our third session, and we are going to be spending majority of the time, well, all of our time, talking about how can you incorporate non-cash assets into your overall donor management strategy. So without further ado, Bailey, let's jump in. And I wanted to start off our conversation by talking a little bit more about who are those donors, right? We have crypto, we have donor advised fund, we have stocks. Are they all the same? Are they different? What are the trends do you guys see? Yeah,
Yeah.
let's dive in.
Great question to kick it off with. So I will say, I think a lot of nonprofits are surprised to know that they might have crypto stock DAF donors already in their donor bases. I'm curious for kind of everyone on the call if your organization has received a stock or donor advised fund gift before. I know that's typically a little bit more common for nonprofits to maybe have already gotten when it comes versus when it comes to crypto. But we do see kind of a little bit of overlap between all three, but kind of breaking it down by generation. Let's first start with kind of crypto. So when it comes to who a crypto donor is, the average age that we see is kind of early 30s. So we see younger, wealthy, and generous donors. So the average income of a crypto donor is about $110,000, and then the average donation that we see for crypto is about 6,500. So
Wow.
significant compared to what you might see
Mm,
cash, which kind of, we've talked about before. It's a great reason to offer non-cash to your donors
mhm,
because you often see larger donation with these types of gifts. And then on the stock side, I think it's been kind of a common thought that stock donors tend to be a little bit older as well, but we're actually starting to see some younger stock donors on our end as well. So kind of looking at a couple different platforms for brokerage accounts. So when it comes to Robinhood, the average stock donor is 32, and on Schwab, it's 35. So I think it is starting to get a little bit younger with stock. And so kind of a wider age range there with what you might see, but again, very generous when it comes to stock donors. So the average stock gift that we see on our platform is about $10,000. So again,
wow.
because of those tax benefits and because people might have more to give when it comes to non-cash, we see pretty significant donations with both of those. And then kind of going into the last one for DAF, I think there's been kind of similar thoughts around donor advised fund of this kind of being an older, wealthier generation of
Mhm.
donors, but with new kind of modern DAF providers that are coming out, I think we're starting to see this age be a little lower as well, because it's a really great way, especially for those that are passionate about philanthropy, to kind of have one single account that they're using for their charitable giving of the year. So, kind of a wider range, but I will say with crypto, it is definitely a little bit younger that we see compared to those three. But I think what's so nice about looking at non-cash is that's a huge question for nonprofits, is how do we get younger in our donor base? I was in the nonprofit world before coming to the Giving Block, and that was like a huge question for our organization. And so I think all three of these non-cash assets are a really great way to do that.
That's so interesting. And thank you for sharing those stats, especially for stocks. There is definitely, I mean, I didn't know the data, but just the general kind of idea that it would be older donor. That's so interesting.
Yeah. And I think one thing that's really important to know that, like me and you have kind of talked about a little bit too, is even thinking about the great wealth transfer,
Yeah.
right? So looking at things like stock and crypto that is being passed down from boomers to millennials, right? So as kind of these non-cash assets are being passed down, there is a $70 trillion wealth transfer that's coming up. And so it's really interesting to see that now some of these kind of younger donors are inheriting things like stock, or they have crypto on their own. And so, a really big opportunity for nonprofits to dive
Mhm.
into that.
And for those who are maybe joining for the first time, or not last, didn't attend the last session, can you kind of remind us what are the benefits? Why someone would choose donate a non-cash asset over just writing you a check this holiday season?
Yeah. So the biggest thing is really the tax benefits. So when you donate a crypto or stock as an actual asset versus selling it and then donating the cash, you don't have to pay capital gains tax on it. So especially, when you look at crypto as the valuation has changed, and maybe those that bought it last year, bought it 5 years ago, 10
Mhm.
years ago, there's a lot of benefits to donating it as crypto versus selling it and then donating the cash, because you're not paying capital gains on it.
Mhm.
You get to write off more, and the nonprofit actually gets more as well. So one example that we often give, like, let's just look at a flat $1 million donation, right? So if a donor were to donate $1 million in crypto, the nonprofit gets $1 million, the donor gets to write it off. Whereas if they were to sell that $1 million in crypto, they would be paying almost $275,000 in
Whew.
taxes. So that means the nonprofit is getting 725,000 there. So it's a huge chunk, especially when you look at how significant crypto and stock donations are compared to cash. When donors, especially as that end of year comes and they're looking at their taxes for 2024 and 2025, and they're seeing what is most beneficial for me to give,
Mhm.
a lot of donors are choosing crypto and stock because they have more to give and because of those really great tax benefits.
Wow, this is so interesting. So now let's say I'm a nonprofit, right? This all sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
I am ready to start incorporating in our fundraising strategy, right? Uh, Where do I start as a nonprofit, right? We talk about use of technologies. Do I just put it on my donation checkout flow and use it as part of kind of overall appeal to everyone this giving season, or should it be part of the major gift strategy? Or where did you see maybe most successes or some successes?
Yeah, I would say incorporating it into your general strategy is a great place to start because I think people are often surprised that donors that aren't in their typical kind of major gift kind of bubble might have crypto and might have major gift levels to give with crypto
Mhm.
versus cash, right? So, I mean, especially if you look at how much of individual wealth is in non-cash assets, what someone has to give in cash might not put them in that major gifts category, but when they have the option of doing crypto and stock, then they're making these large gifts that might bump them into there. So I think it's a really great tool to share in your overall giving strategy. And especially when you look at how young a lot of these donors are, it's
Mhm.
also a great chance to build those relationships with those donors as they continue to maybe then grow into kind of that major gift avenue for
Mhm.
you. So I definitely think it's something that you can incorporate into your whole overall fundraising strategy versus kind of having it be exclusively for major gifts. And so really, I would say like the best way to get started with it is besides having, making sure it's on your website,
Mhm.
making sure you have some kind of dedicated giving pages for crypto and stock of anytime that you're talking about donating, just make sure you throw a line in there that says, hey,
Mhm.
remember, we accept crypto, stock, donor advised funds. A lot of nonprofits will maybe look at doing like a matching campaign around
Mhm.
non-cash assets. So there's a lot of different ways that you can look at doing it, but I would say really making sure that it's integrated into your overall strategy is such a good way to start because I think, again, a lot of orgs are really surprised by what donors they might have that have these
Mhm.
non-cash assets to give.
That's so interesting because I think there is some maybe misconception, misunderstanding, because even for me before learning a lot of this information, I felt like, oh, maybe it's a nonprofit. We need to go and find this new donors, right? But understanding that they're actually already probably in your database, it's just offering those new channels of support um, is a great first step to start that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, especially sharing with your donors that you're accepting it is a great way to not only tap into this current base, but also to kind of find new donors as well. Like we kind of talked about last week a little bit, is there really is a crypto community that's looking to do good and give back to causes that they care about. So, we have some organizations that when they tweet out that they're accepting crypto and they make sure to put some hashtags in there that it ends up being some of their most like popular social media posts just because, of how active the crypto community is
Mhm.
on social media. And so, by sharing it, incorporate it in your SEO, things like that, it's also a really, really great way to get new donors because, they're at the Giving Block, we work with over 2,000 nonprofits, but there's a lot of orgs out there that aren't accepting crypto. So for those in the crypto community, when they're choosing where to give, they're
Mhm.
first looking at what organizations are accepting crypto, right? So just by accepting it, it's also a great way to kind of tap into these new donors that specifically have crypto that they want to give and are looking for kind of these crypto friendly accepting orgs
Mhm.
that they can rally and get behind. So yeah, great way for both your current donors and
Mhm.
tapping in to these potential new donors as well.
Yeah. Since we're talking about crypto and crypto community. I know we had a lot of question about it,
Yeah.
and this sounds fantastic. Just kind of sharing it, using some of those hashtags. But really, you did mention that crypto community is quite unique. There
Yeah.
is no donor advice fund community. There is no stock donors community,
Yes.
right? But there is a crypto community. So, what are some other maybe easy steps for nonprofit to take to start engaging with that community?
Yeah, I really would say I think social media is a
Okay.
great place to start. So at the Giving Block, we have a ton of resources on kind of how you can incorporate it into your social campaign and newsletters, things like sample tweets that you can use, ways to put it
Mhm.
in. So definitely recommend, I mean, there's a ton even just on our website for those that might
Mhm.
be curious a little bit on how to reach these donors. But I think it's also great to reach out to your current donors. I mean, especially if you can kind of do some segmentation or look at, what donors do we have that might kind of fit into this typical crypto owner profile of being a little bit younger, kind of looking at some of those
Yeah.
demographics and segmenting that way. That can be a really great way to, maybe do some targeted outreach and segmentation to see if there's anyone kind of in your donor base that might fit into the profile of having some crypto to want to give as well. And I think another great thing, just last thing here, that some orgs have done that have had a lot of success is even if you have like a young professionals board, right? That could be a great group to tap into to see if maybe they have connections or know someone with crypto that might be interested in making that first donation to get started, or are more integrated in
Mm,
community. That's another really great place to look because you might find some kind of additional connections to the space that way.
I love that. So one of the things and it's such a great connection to this. I think one of the things we wanted to also talk about based on the question that we receive is why is it important to connect let's say you use some platform, right? Or even if you don't use the platform, you do it on your side. Why is it important to have a CRM? Why is it important to have a database? And ideally, why would you want to have a integration,
Yeah.
right? So if I'm the development manager, right, and I'm accepting, I have this, we start accepting donation. Like, why is it important to have
Yeah.
CRM? And
I
what am I
mean,
going to see?
yeah. So I think like anything, I mean, keep continuing to cultivate those relationships with that donor, make sure that they know the impact that their donation has made, and really keep building that relationship to try and encourage further giving from them. And so just as you would put a card or a check or a major gift donor in your CRM, doing the same for non-cash asset donors is so important. And I'm sure your financial team is like, let's have everything in one place. So not only for them, but just for that continued donor engagement, it's so important. And so with platforms like the Giving Block, you get access to all of that donor data so that you can
Mhm.
continue to cultivate that relationship. And we have some integrations with great platforms like GiveEffect, where you can then automatically see that data in your CRM. So kind of what you see in your CRM when it comes to a non-cash asset, because I know there might be confusion. Like, do we just see one Bitcoin, or like, do we see the
Yeah.
valuation, or how that
Hmm.
works? So basically you'll see not only that donor data, but you see the amount of crypto that they donated. You see, at least with the Giving Block, you see the amount of crypto they donated, the type of crypto. With our platform, we do an automatic liquidation. So the
Hmm.
second that crypto hits your wallet, it's automatically sold and converted to cash. So you'll also see the gross amount, the net amount in US dollars. So you're
Hmm.
seeing like what's the actual amount that we got in cash from this donation. You can see all of that in your CRM. And so that makes it, I think, a little easier for your finance team to reconcile versus just seeing like, oh, okay, great, we got one Bitcoin. Like, what does that mean for our financial bank account, document? So you will see like the gross and net amount in there in USD, along with all of that donor data. So, besides that extra field of like what the cryptocurrency was,
Yeah.
the crypto amount, everything else will look pretty similar to like a normal card donation
Hmm.
or things like that that you'd see.
Yeah. And from our side, but just having conversation with some of our clients, I think they really appreciate the integration between crypto and between CRM because
Yeah.
again, I mean, just that seamless flow of the data that you're not spending time digging into going to one platform to doing another platform. It's like having, something for crypto, something for credit card, something for PayPal, something for check.
It's
Obviously you can do it like that, but just having everything integrated and moving into one place, making the world of the difference in terms time spent and the quality of the work and the output.
definitely. And that's something I always recommend too. Like if you are going to be using a platform to do your non-cash assets, seeing how those are integrated with other platforms that you're using. Because like you said, like there are so many different types of tech that I think nonprofits are now using. So if those can all be kind of streamlined and you're not having to go multiple places to check different donations that are coming in or statuses, really make, I know how many hats everyone in the nonprofit industry really does wear. And so if your technology can work together and make things easier for you, I always say that's a huge thing to look for if you are going to go the platform route, because it can just really kind of streamline that whole process with the different kind of tech that you're using.
Awesome. Another thing I wanted to touch upon, receiving and acknowledgement when it comes to crypto dev stock donations. I know there is something that need to be kept in mind
Yeah.
when accepting those.
Yep. So with crypto and stock, so with platforms like the Giving Block, we actually do the receipting
Mhm.
for crypto and stock. So it's something that we can turn off if you want to handle. But one kind of important thing to note with crypto and stock is when we send those receipts, we don't include any USD valuation. So for
Mhm.
crypto, we would just include something like zero point 0.1 Bitcoin, or for stock, we would just mean like 3 shares of Apple, because it's really important that it's super clear in the tax receipt that that donor gave non-cash assets as these non-cash assets versus thinking it's or looking like it's dollars. And so it's actually on the donors to then go get that
Mhm.
raised to get the USD valuation that they would use for tax purposes. So it's
Mhm.
kind of the same as like if someone were to donate art, right, to your
Yeah,
nonprofit, like they still
right.
then have to go get that valuation of what they're
Mhm.
gonna write off. And so it's very similar to that. And then when it comes to donor advised funds, what we do on our end is we actually are sending an acknowledgement versus a tax receipt. So with donor advised funds, when that donor contributes funds to their DAF account initially, that's where they get the tax write-off. Then from there, when they're granting out the funds, they don't get another tax write-off. So it's really important that with DAFs, they're just getting a grant acknowledgement saying thank you so much for granting out these funds. They're not getting any kind of additional tax receipt there. So that can also be the benefits of working with kind of a platform is
Mhm.
you get that part taken off of your, list of things to figure out with non-cash.
Yeah, and this question comes when we talk about donor advised funds so often. So also to share with everyone, right? We always recommend, yes, we're not going to send them another tax receipt. You're not going to send them another tax receipt, but donor advised funds has been growing so much, and definitely as a nonprofit, you want to see the full impact of someone's on your mission, right? Not only cash and traditional donations, but also donor advised fund, right? So how do you keep track of all of it? And what we've suggested and we typically see is the use of soft credits.
Yeah.
So your hard credits will be applied to the financial institution from where you're going to be receiving your donor advised fund donation, but soft credits are such a helpful tool because instead of applying the hard credits or donation, we can apply soft credit and then run a full report that which will include your hard donation, a soft donation, so you can see a full impact of someone. You can also send them a letter at the end of the year, and kind of thank them for the entire contribution, and the tax receipt, that
Yeah.
acknowledgement letter.
That's amazing because then, like you were saying too, like you can really see a full 360 picture of
Yeah.
what that donor's giving history is as well. And a lot of times too, we recommend that when you're putting those DAF donations into your CRM, also including who the DAF provider is, because that's who you're
Mhm.
getting the check in the mail
That's
from.
right.
So that can make it a lot easier for your finance team if they're just getting a check from, Schwab or
Mhm.
Daffy or Charity Best. They're like, okay, where does this match up? So also seeing who the DAF provider is a great thing to
Yeah.
include in your CRM just for that reconciliation piece.
Yeah, no, I love that. Absolutely. And just for everyone who is joining today live, we have about 4 or 5 more minutes for today's session. We'd love to answer any of your questions that you might have. Any questions are welcome. Even if you didn't attend first two session, please feel free to use chat, Q&A box to put your questions there. But while we're waiting on the live questions, Bailey, I do have the last question for you. Just kind of how like overall thinking about in-group donor management strategy, like how do non-cash asset donation fit into a nonprofit donor management strategy? Any tips there or kind of last suggestions for
Yeah.
everyone?
Yeah, no, I think we've covered a good amount of it, of really like the importance of having these non-cash assets in your CRM just for kind of seeing a full picture of what your giving looks like. And especially kind of what we talked about a little bit in the beginning of the potential for these non-cash donors to really turn into major gift donors. Then you're kind of able to see their giving history, how that might grow, and other ways you might want to, engage with that donor for support of your organization. So I would just say I think it's a really kind of key piece of crypto stock donor advised funds is just making sure that you're getting that full view in your CRM and really kind of seeing everything in one place for that donor engagement. Another really great thing that I'll just touch on really quick that we don't think we've talked about, but one cool thing with the integration that we actually have with GiveEffect is along with having that data in your CRM, you can also add crypto directly into your
Mhm.
GiveEffect donation form.
Right.
So one thing that's really cool about this is not only can you have some like standalone crypto pages with the giving block, but you can also have that in your main GiveEffect give
Mhm.
form. And so it's just another place to potentially tap into these donors. And the more times you can get it in front of them, I think, the more that they're educated and can see it as the opportunity to give. So that's another really great thing to look at is not only does it integrate with your CRM, but
Mhm.
is there also a possibility for you to add it in your main fundraising form? Because I think it just gives you
Yeah.
another avenue to reach kind of new donors through the different flows you have.
Yeah, I love that. It's kind of part of what we do, right? We want to streamline and incorporate everything in one. So as you don't go through the checkout flow, they might not even know that you had this option, and here it is in front of their eyes. So it's just
Yeah,
another way to put it in front. We
exactly.
have a question from Jack Bailey. Jake tried to sign up for the Given Block demo and receive a response about the requirement of 250,000 fundraising. So they are going to be, hitting that number pretty soon. So the question is, are there any plans to support the organization with less than 250,000 annual revenue at this point?
Yeah, that's a great question. Jake, if you want to actually, I think Tara might post it in here. If you want to reach out, I can get you connected with someone of our team. Part of why we kind of have that number is just looking at success that we see organizations have when it comes to crypto and stock fundraising and really making sure that if an organization is going to onboard with us, that they are set up for success. And so it's definitely not like the only requirement. So if you want to use that link in there to either reach out or book some time with me, I can share a little bit more about some other opportunities that we might have. But that's awesome to hear that you are interested.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Well, right. I think that's pretty much all of the questions. Anything, again, at the very end, to share about the non-cash asset donation, Bailey? We were just had so much fun having you here.
I think we've covered so much. And I will say too, for anyone that's kind of looking for more information, the Giving Block, we have a ton of free resources as well available for nonprofits. If you're just looking to learn more about non-cash, we have a blog that has a whole ton of kind of articles on the benefits of non-cash, strategies that you can use, things like that. So definitely recommend kind of checking that out if you're interested in learning a little bit more. But again, I just think, as we're looking to 2025, it's such a great way to reach new donors, get younger donors, and also kind of build a new revenue stream. So have been amazing to be able to talk with you about such a wide range around this topic and excited to see what's ahead for 2025.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you so much. It's been so wonderful to have you in the Given Block here with us this December. And for everyone, thank you so much for joining us live. Our LinkedIn pages, contact information is in the chat. If we'd love to stay in touch and connect, and just we're both serving nonprofits in full capacity. So just very grateful to be here, and thank you so much for joining us again. The speed learning session will be back in December. So you can sign up for our newsletter, and sorry, not in December, in January. And in January, we're going to be talking all about making your next spring event a success. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Bailey, and have a happy holidays. Have a great rest of your week.
You too. Bye.